Yeah, what's going on, people? Welcome to Numbers Don't Lie. Of course, the best show when it comes to diving into beyond the eye test and looking into those beautiful stats that help build those narratives that we talk about in the footballing world week upon week. And you know what I love about the beginning of a week? We can discuss all of the biggest footballing stories. So once again, this man is at the top of everybody's list. Erling Haaland breaking records and doing what he does best in terms of with those stats and those numbers. And you know what? I need a running mate. If we're going to do this properly, we need someone that we're going to dive into the show properly with. None other than Chris Wittyngham. Kwee, welcome to Numbers Don't Lie, bro.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you have to have the facts at your back, and the data is going to help us dive into some of the big stories from the weekend.
Now, Chris, I appreciate you for being here, and look, the next hour is going to be amazing, but we need a special guest. If we're going to dive into this one, when we talk about greatness, we need a Premier League great to help break this down with us. So welcome the CBS family, and our very first guest on Numbers Don't Lie, Jamie Carragher in the building, smiling, looking good. Jamie, how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, JJ. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you, Chris.
Yeah, good to see you. And you certainly lit up the footballing world with your take this weekend after Erling Haaland got another goal. You call him the best ever goal scorer in English football. You stand by that?
I stand by it, but maybe the numbers will make me out to be a liar. I know that's the name of the show, but it was just a hunch I had in terms of watching him and obviously seeing his numbers, but it wasn't something I'd sort of studied in terms of, you know, goals per game or longevity or whatever that may, you know, come into that. I just feel every time he goes through, he's going to score a goal. Obviously, his numbers are off the scale right now. I thought of some of the great strikers in the past who were sort of getting, you know, 30 goals was a great season, but he's always plus 40, it feels to me. So hopefully, you're going to prove me right.
Jamie, you know the rules around here, man. Look, we're part of the Champions League family. We watch the show every week because we do the preview with you. So you know we stand on business here. So that means I don't want to hear no backtracking now. I need to hear definitively, Jamie Carragher, is Erling Haaland the greatest scorer in English Premier League history?
He is for me, but I haven't checked all the numbers, if I'm being totally honest. But I don't believe we've ever seen a goal scorer as good as him in English football.
Oh, it's so interesting you say that, because I know somebody, and you know somebody well, that could be definitely in those conversations, and when you start breaking down the numbers right in front of us, we have a different type of conversation. Now, Jamie, take into consideration errors as well. Erling Haaland does stand alone in terms of the 94 goals, 104 matches. The minutes per goal ratio is off the scale. But when you look at the totality, we start entering the conversation. Alan Shearer, 260. Of course, Premier League leading goal scorer. Wayne Rooney, we already know what he's done, both on this side of the continent and, of course, in the Premier League. And none other than your teammate. I need you to stand on business, because you've got to face Thierry in a couple of weeks, and you're going to tell me that you believe that Erling Haaland is still the greatest striker, knowing what Thierry has done to you and others.
No, JD, you're not listening to what I'm saying, boy. There's a difference between goal scorer and player. I think Erling Haaland his numbers have just proven me right there in terms of just out-and-out goals. I don't think we've ever seen anything better than him in the league. At times, and Thierry's probably been a little bit of a critic of Haaland, as a lot of us have, in terms of his all-round game and his all-round play. I don't think he matches or comes anywhere near to Thierry Henry, who for me is still the GOAT in the Premier League era. But in terms of numbers and goal scoring, I don't think there's ever been anyone better. I think the numbers prove that right. And also what's interesting is I don't think Haaland is bothered one bit by criticism about his all-round play. I don't think he cares. I think all he cares about is scoring. And so I think anything else besides goals does not matter, does not come into the equation for Erling Haaland. So I made my statement, and thank you for providing the stats on Sofascore. Make sure we mention Sofascore do a great job. And if Sofascore say I've got the numbers right, I've definitely got the numbers right.
Well, let's compare, because we talked about some all-time Premier League greats. Let's compare as well against some of the more recent top-level goal scorers, your Agueros, your Kanes, and we'll show some of these numbers here as well. But I guess the question here, even beyond Mo Salah as well, who's got that incredible run of golden boots as well. So here are the overall numbers with Kane, top of this sort of recent bunch on 213. But again, minutes per goal is the stat that is in your favor, Jamie Carragher. But that golden boots, 4 for Salah. I guess on top of what we're talking about in terms of comparing these incredible level players, when you're saying goal scorer, what are the qualities that you're talking about? We're talking as well about eye tests as well as numbers. What are the qualities about Haaland as a goal scorer? What are the qualities of a goal scorer that's different than a top level, just saying a top level striker?
I think it's that composure and sort of ice in the veins at that critical moment. And possibly when you're a goal scorer, you're in that position, I can imagine time almost stands still when you've just got to make that decision to finish. Everything slows down in front of you. I always remember that a little bit of when I was a defender at the opposite end of the pitch in terms of making a tackle. If I thought I was going to make a really big block that was maybe going to stop a shot, it did feel to me like things slowed down, or almost the stadium went quiet. So I could imagine that's what it's like for a goal scorer. And I think when Erling Haaland goes through on goal, I don't think anybody, even the goalkeeper he's up against, ever expects him not to score. And I think it's an underrated quality of his more than others, really. I think sometimes we don't mention, his finishes as much as we possibly should. I think we see him as a big target man, a big, powerful striker. The goal at the weekend perfectly sums him up, what his great strength is. But some of the, the technique and the composure and the velvet touch on certain finishes that we saw midweek in the Champions League away at Monaco as well. This guy in front of goal, he just doesn't miss. And for me, the finishing, but the mentality when he's in front of goal is unsurpassed.
I'm going to try one more just to sway you, Jay, because I noticed that you don't give up on arguments and neither do I, right? So let's try this one. Yeah? Let's try this. I put in a Scouser for you in Wazza, yeah? I put in your adopted Scouser in Mo Salah. I put in your teammate in Thierry Henry. If you're telling me that you still stand on Erling Haaland, then answer this question. Out of the strikers that were listed, who would give you the most fear? Who would you prep for the most? Who would you know you need a good night's sleep for if you were going to prepare for a striker?
Oh, it's always Thierry. Always Thierry. I mean, the list of strikers we've just seen there, I would put Thierry as the number one above Haaland. For me, still the greatest player to ever play in the Premier League. And, Thierry will always be number one. And that has got nothing to do with working together on CBS.
Oh, I remember some of the times. Don't forget it. Highbury, see, the lights are gone out because he knows. Yeah, he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. No, it's fine. You don't want to talk about it anymore. I get it. Because I remember you and Stefan on show banging into each other. I remember a couple of times when he dropped the corner. But Jamie, that doesn't mean that you weren't a Premier League legend, and I appreciate you so much for your time this morning and blessing us. You can always say you were first, bro, and numbers don't lie.
Brilliant, JD. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. It's a privilege and an honour.
The lights have turned off on this segment. This is incredible.
Jamie Carragher shuts down the lights every time.
Just make sure the lights haven't turned off on your show.
So, Chris, look. We've seen the wider scale. We've seen Jamie, who's obviously dived in and given us his opinion. He stood on business and said that he still doubles down that Erling Haaland is the greatest striker, of course, and forward and goal scorer in Premier League history. And that's fine. We can have that conversation. But when we open up the wider conversation, right, now let's start comparing them to some of the other greats, modern greats that you spoke about. You alluded to Harry Kane. You alluded to two of his other running mates. And I know that they have an eye on each other in terms of Kylian Mbappé. What do you see in terms of their scale when they weigh up against each other?
Yeah, I think for Erling Haaland, I think it is about what Jamie talked about, which is that sort of very defined quality of goal scorer, of talking about a player that is only thinking about goals. He can go an entire game, an entire half with 7 touches, a game with 15 to 20 touches, whereas Kane, I think, is more prominently involved in the game. And Mbappe, I think, does a lot more of the running and the creating in the channel. So we take a look at the numbers between these two guys these three guys in the start of this season, and you look at Harry Kane off to an absolutely insane start. 18 goals from 10 games, minutes per goal, 40. It's basically a goal a half so far this season. And in terms of percentage of goals for the team, that's where Haaland has that in his favor. At 68%, he accounts for the goals from Manchester City this season. But Mbappe's off to a brilliant start. These guys, I think, have become the focus of their teams. Maybe you look at Real Madrid. Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo used to take it. Jude Bellingham used to take some of that focus. But now Mbappe is getting so much of that focus. He's the main man in this Real Madrid team. And for Kane, I think it just shows the level of dominance that Bayern are showing in the Bundesliga so far.
I think the system changed. I think you hit the nail on the head. They finally have a manager, each one of these, that have made them the focal point in terms of their team's offense and a system that's built around them. I can't wait to dive into systems because that's going to be something for the latter half of this conversation. But when you talk about the wider context now, and we're only allowed to do this with certain players, and in fairness to Erling Haaland, what he's demonstrated so far in his career, he can actually enter this conversation. So when you start comparing him in terms of his goal-scoring record against your likes of your Messis and your Ronaldos, how does it weigh up then, Chris, in terms of looking at the numbers?
Yeah, I think, first off, you start his first Premier League season, he scores 35 goals in 34 games, which is a mad figure. But you look at so far the start that he's off to, you can really project forward here that some of the best seasons that Messi and Ronaldo have had, obviously the best one for Messi was that 11-12, where he hit for 73 goals, and Ronaldo was 14-15 when he hit for 63 goals for Real Madrid. These are their best seasons of their campaign. JD, you love to mention that stat in 2012, the calendar year. He hit 91 over the course of a calendar year, but this was the season for Messi where he was just completely unplayable. And you look at that minutes per goal ratio as well. Messi playing those 5 games more, still slightly better on that minutes per goal ratio. So this is how they compare in terms of pace. Now, we are very early doors in this season, but so far, the 5 guys that we're talking about have played around 10 games. Haaland has played 9.
Yeah.
But now you can start to project forward, and certainly with Kane, he's on pace for, by the end of the season, to hit something like 90 goals, which is madness, JD.
Whoa, let's pump the brakes. Look, I know that we're spoilt because both Messi and Ronaldo, we're still enjoying them, even though they're the latter part of their prime, but their greatness still shines in terms of their respective leagues. But I know what the numbers say, and I stand on it. You know me, I love this show because we stand and we utilize the numbers all the time. But if you're telling me that Harry Kane, even though he's off to 18 goals after your first 10 games, is going to replicate what we saw from Leo Messi in terms of 91 goals in a calendar year, 71 in terms of from season to season, he's got a long way to go. Surely, Witty, this is just early projections rather than a resemblance of what's actually going to happen.
But the thing is how do you see this slowing down for Harry Kane? Because Bayern Munich are so far and away the best team in the Bundesliga. They've played some of the heavy hitters so far. They played Eintracht at the weekend. They've already played RB Leipzig. I believe they have a Der Klassiker to come soon after the international window. And yet I just see Bayern on a level of dominance that's so far above everyone else. So, yeah, I can see him hitting for 1 or 2 goals a game and on the number of games that he'll play. So this is where they're at after 10 games. Kane is on 18, which is actually better than what Messi was at after 10 games. Obviously, you keep going and going and going. And that's the difficult thing. That's a difficult thing is you have to score basically a goal or 2 in every single game. But this is where we project them out after 53 games, based off what we've seen so far. Kane on 95 after 53 games. And we're sort of projecting here because this is where Cristiano ended up in that season. On 61, Messi was at 61 after 53 games, eventually got to the 73 with the 5 more. Haaland on 71, Mbappé on 74, and Kane on 95 goals. And this is projecting maybe even a little bit of an early exit in the Champions League because 53, they can go far in the Pokal. They have the 34 Bundesliga games, but I can just see Kane scoring and scoring and scoring.
Okay, I'm going to shorten this real quick for you just before we have to go to break because I know we have to cut this real quick. So when you look at this, are we looking at the peaks in terms of when you look at those players respectively? Your Kanes, your Mbappés and your Haalands. Are they all currently in their peak right now?
I think Kane, which is funny because we're projecting him to have 95 goals. I don't think he's there right now. I think Harry Kane has had better moments in his career at Tottenham when he was carrying the team as the main man. And he is still the main man at Bayern, but the team around him is much better. And I think as well, the dominance that they have relative to everyone else in the league is a different thing. And so I don't think that Kane is there. Mbappe is pretty well close to there. I still love early Mbappe. Early Mbappe will always be my favorite because he's much more of a runner, was much more of a winger than he is a striker. But now as a goal scorer, he's absolutely hit his peak. I think Erling Haaland, you can definitely say he's at that age. He's 25 years old. He's right in the middle of his career where he is going to take off from here. So I think Haaland is at his peak. And he's also carrying much more of the load at Manchester City. You remember when he joined that team, it was like, oh my God, this already brilliant team has Erling Haaland in it now. Now it's their brilliant team because of Erling Haaland. So I think he's got that responsibility on his shoulders now.
Oh, talking about responsibility, I love the fact that all 3 of these players carry that responsibility with such elegance and effortless as well.